Namaskar, myself Dr. Deepti Bisht, Professor, Department of Chikitsa, Faculty of Ayurvedic Sciences, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Today, in this session for BMS fourth year students, I am going to discuss a very important topic, cirrhosis of liver. So, let's start the topic, cirrhosis of liver. First of all, definition. As you all know, cirrhosis of liver is an irreversible chronic injury of the hepatic parenchyma and include extensive fibrosis in association with the formation of regenerative nodules. So the first important point is it is an irreversible kind of chronic injury, and the most common cause in India is chronic alcohol abuse. Causes. The first and important cause is alcoholic liver disease. Second cause of cirrhosis is non-alcoholic steatohepatitis NASH, which I have discussed earlier, and this is usually due to metabolic syndrome, which are inclusive of hypertension, dyslipidemia, insulin resistance, obesity, etc. Then chronic hepatitis C and chronic hepatitis B may ultimately result in cirrhosis. Then there may be primary biliary cholangitis, in which the biliary duct system gets infected due to various regions, and it can result to damage to liver cells, and ultimately cirrhosis may develop. Similarly, sclerosing cholangitis is also an important cause. Autoimmune hepatitis is also responsible for liver cirrhosis in certain cases. Then there is hereditary hemochromatosis, in which there is deposition of iron in various body cells, including the liver cells, and this deposition of iron ultimately leads to damage to liver cells, and usually the liver gets cirrhosed. Wilson's disease. In Wilson's disease, there is deposition of copper inside blood cells, in brain, in liver, which ultimately damages the liver. Wilson's disease is usually seen in neonatal and childhood period, whereas hemochromatosis is usually observed in adulthood. Next, classification. We can classify cirrhosis into alcoholic cirrhosis. Then there is cryptogenic or post-hepatic cirrhosis, which is a case of advanced liver injury, and usually it is observed in case of chronic viral hepatitis. Then biliary cirrhosis is due to prolonged obstruction in intra or extrahepatic biliary system, in which ultimately back pressure results liver cell damage. Then there may be cardiac cirrhosis, which is due to prolonged condition in chronic heart failure or chronic congestive cardiac failure, which leads to chronic liver injury. Then metabolic, inherited, and drug-induced are other classification for liver cirrhosis. Now, clinical manifestations. The important signs which is seen in cirrhosis is portal hypertension, which is consists of varices, splenomegaly, and ascites. I will discuss in detail what is this varices, why this is splenomegaly and ascites. Then there may be features of hepatocellular failure. Spider nevi may be seen, which looks like the net of a spider, and usually seen in palm area or in face area. Then palmar edema is seen. This is redness or reddish spots over the palm. Paper money skin is observed. Here the skin becomes very thin and very smooth, just like a paper. Gynecomastia is observed in chronic cases. Testicular atrophy may be observed. Bleeding manifestations may be observed due to increased prothrombin time. Now the special stigmata of alcoholic cirrhosis, since it is the most important cause in India. Here, bilateral enlarged parotid glands are seen. Gynecomastia is usually present. Testicular atrophy, muscle busting, and dipytrines contracture. These are important signs which are observed in alcoholic cirrhotic patients. Now the investigation. Before investigation, I would like to discuss some points which are very important, which you should know. These points are, first of all, what is portal hypertension, or what are the features of portal hypertension. Like I have mentioned, portal hypertension is basically portal systemic anastomosis development at different sites. That means there is development of collateral circulation in various sites, and these sites are lower ends of esophagus, where if these esophageal varices ruptures, it may produce hematemesis and melena. Similarly, around the umbilicus, here collateral circulations develop around the umbilicus, and the picture looks like caput medusa, and it is seen in anterior abdominal wall and specifically in epigastrium also. Then there may be development of collateral circulation or varices in anal canal and rectum, which is seen as hemorrhoid. Splenomegaly is seen, which means spleen becomes enlarged and which can be palpable easily from outside. And there is ascites. Ascites is accumulation of fluid in peritoneal cavity. And it is often said that for this feature hepaticus or cirrhosis is a feature of portal hypertension, which is due to portosystemic shunting. But it should also be remembered that underlying hepatocellular failure must be present. So these are some features of portal hypertension. Now investigations, what investigations should be done? First of all, complete blood count is done, then liver function tests, which are usually increased. Clotting time, bleeding time, and prothrombin time is also done. Stool for occult blood is done to observe fresh blood or melena. Upper GI endoscopy is done if there is esophageal varices. Sonography abdomen is also done, CT abdomen, to reveal the texture of tissue. Then liver biopsy is done in chronic cases. Management. The simple management for cirrhosis is, first of all, rest. Diet should be salt-free and high protein content diet. Treatment of infection is done by proper antimicrobial agents. Treatment of variceal bleeding is done to stop the bleeding. Treatment of hepatic encephalopathy is usually employed. Injection of vitamin K for coagulopathy. Management of ascites by paracentesis, diuretics, etc. is done. And then control of etiological factors. That is proper treatment of viral hepatitis, and in case of alcohol hepatitis, there should be abstinence from alcohol. So this is all about cirrhosis of liver. Now we will discuss about some practical questions which can be asked in theory exam or in practical. So the first question is, describe hepatic phases. That is, what are the clinical features of a cirrhotic patient? So these are shrunken eye, hollowed temporal fossa can be seen, nose seen will be pinched up with malar prominence, shallow or dry face, and icteric tinge of conjunctiva, and it is characteristic of chronic liver disease. Then another question is, what are the etiologies for cirrhosis of liver? As we have discussed here, most common etiology is alcoholic, then biliary, which may be primary or secondary. Metabolic causes also we have discussed, like Wilson's disease, hemochromatosis. Similarly, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and some drug-induced causes are also there, which includes the drugs like methotrexate, amiodarone, methyl dopa, and halothane. Now, the common sites of varices or common sites for collateral circulation. As I have discussed, these are number one, lower end of esophagus, which is the commonest site. Second site is gastric varices, which is in epigastrium. Third is colorectal, which is usually manifested in the form of hemorrhoids. Another important question is, what is melena, or describe the characteristic of melena. So melena is altered blood in stool, and the characteristics are, the stool is black tarry color, which is due to production of acetamidin, and it is sticky. Second, it is offensive and semi-solid in consistency, and usually it is associated with vertigo, dizziness, or syncopal attacks. Next question is hematochezia. What is hematochezia? Hematochezia is the passage of bright red blood per rectum, which is mixed with or without stool. And hematochezia signifies basically bleeding from a source, which is usually nearby. Common examples of this hematochezia is lower GI tract bleeding, and like hemorrhoids, anal fissure and fistula, trauma, proctitis, ischemic colitis, ulcerative colitis, and sometimes malignancy of colon. So the difference between hematochezia and melena is that melena is basically bleeding from the upper GI tract, whereas hematochezia is bleeding from the lower GI tract. Hematochezia is also can also be called frank blood. Now, what are the complications of cirrhosis? This is also an important question, the complications of cirrhosis. So, first of all, portal hypertension, which is seen in the form of variceal bleeding, congestive gastropathy, or hypersplenism, that is splenomegaly, enlargement of spleen. Second complication is hepatocellular failure and hepatic encephalopathy. That means due to hepatic cause, there is delirium, disorientation stage of brain. Third complication is ascites, and due to this, bacterial peritonitis may occur. Fourth complication is hepatorenal failure, that is renal failure with normal tubular function. Fifth complication is acute or chronic pancreatitis, then peptic ulcer, then septicemia, and hepatocellular carcinoma is a late complication. In the etiology of cirrhosis, I have discussed the cardiac cirrhosis. So, what is this cardiac cirrhosis? Cardiac cirrhosis is prolonged passive venous congestion to liver from valvular heart disease. As I have discussed in classification, cardiac cirrhosis, which is prolonged PCA leading to chronic liver injury. What happens in cardiac cirrhosis? When there is prolonged passive venous congestion to liver from valvular heart disease, constructive pericarditis, or long duration chronic or pulmonale lead to cirrhotic changes in liver, and it is known as cardiac cirrhosis. And if clinical examination is done, it will show firm and non-tender hepatomegaly. Right-sided heart failure features are also seen, and stigmata of chronic encephalopathy is also seen with waxing and waning. Means sometimes patients get disoriented, sometimes he will be all right, and this will happen again and again. So this is cardiac cirrhosis. Now, next question, what are the investigations usually done in case of cirrhosis? So as I have written here, CBC, that means complete blood count. Here blood examination is done for TLC, total blood count, differential leukocyte count, ESR, and hemoglobin. Because in cirrhosis, there may be microcytic hypochromic anemia due to hematemesis and melena. Microcytic and hypochromic means iron deficiency due to the loss of blood. Then ESR is increased if there is any infection like tuberculosis. Then tool for occult blood is usually done to detect melena or hematochezia, as I have just discussed. Then rectal examination and fructoscopy can be done for demonstration of internal hemorrhage. Liver function tests are very important. The parameter of liver function test, as you know, are total protein count, serum bilirubin, SGOT, SGPT, alkaline phosphate, phosphatate, prothrombin time. In case of liver cirrhosis, total protein is diminished with low albumin and high globulin ratio. Serum bilirubin may be normal or raised. SGOT and SGPT are usually show mild elevation. Similarly, alkaline phosphatase also slightly increased. Prothrombin time is usually increased and it does not return to normal level even with vitamin K therapy. And it is a very important prognostic marker of hepatocellular damage. Usually normal prothrombin time is 12 to 16 seconds. So if there is high value of prothrombin time, it indicates hepatocellular damage. Then another investigation is endoscopy of upper GI tract, which is usually done to reveal esophageal or gastric varices, peptic ulcer, or congestive gastropathy. And it is a very important and reliable investigation to visualize the portal hypertension. I have not written here, but X-ray is also usually done, which is usually not informative, but it may show increased hepatocyte clinic size. Similarly, examination of ascitic fluid is done if there is problem of peritonitis or ascites. The fluid is usually transited in nature. Sonography or CT scan of liver, spleen, portal vein, any collateral or free fluid in abdomen done for this. And in case of liver cirrhosis, there is heterogeneous echo pattern of liver. Splenic enlargement may be found. Ascites is also seen, and portal vein diameter is also increased. Liver biopsy, it usually confirms the diagnosis of cirrhosis of liver. So it is an important tool. Now, next important question is management of cirrhosis of liver. How do we manage cirrhosis? So, as I have written in short, now I will explain. First of all, rest, absolute bed rest is very important in decompensated stages because reduction of physical activity reduces the metabolic demands of liver and increases the renal infusion. So both liver and kidney will get benefited. Then diet, as I have told, salt-free and high-protein diet is indicated. And then treatment of infection should be done with proper antibiotics like co-amoxicillin or cefotaxime plus gentamicin. Varicose bleeding treatment is mandatory. It is done by blood transfusion. Some agents like vasopressin, terlipressin, or infusion of somatostatin if there is hemorrhage. Endoscopic sclerotherapy of varices or band ligation is also done in severe cases. And lastly, esophageal transection is done if bleeding didn't stop. Then treatment of hepatic encephalopathy. It is done by advising protein-free diet. Since vegetable protein is less aminogenic, better tolerated and more laxative, so vegetable protein is mostly preferred. To improve hepatic encephalopathy, lactulose is given in 10 to 30 ml 3 times daily. The neomycin 4 gram per day or metronidazole 200 mg quarterly is given for 5 to 7 days. Enema is given, it is administered 8 to 12 hourly for 2 to 3 days. Maintenance of calories, food, and electrolytes is mandatory. So these 3 or 4 measures are adopted for the treatment of hepatic encephalopathy, which is very necessary. Then to stop coagulopathy, injection of vitamin K is given in the dose of 1 ampoule intramuscular daily for 3 days. If sedatives have to be used, then its judicious use is done. Safe sedatives are oxazepam, temazepam, phenobarbital. And one important thing is that morphine or paraldehyde are absolutely contraindicated in case of cirrhosis. To manage ascites, paracentesis, diuretics should be done for the control of edema. Then control of etiological factors like abstinence from alcohol intake, penicillamine in case of Wilson's disease, or phlebotomy in case of hemochromatosis, or we can also prescribe desferrixolzamine in hematochromasis. So this is the proper management of cirrhosis of liver. So one more question, why lactulose is used for hepatic encephalopathy? What is its role in hepatic encephalopathy? So lactulose is a synthetic disaccharide. When it is taken orally, it goes into cecum and broken down into acetic acid and lactic acid, and thus it helps in dropping the fecal pH. So it produces acidic diarrhea, acts as enema or bowel wash. As intestinal pH is acidic, so ammonia absorption is less because ammonia is converted into ammonium ion, and then it promotes incorporation of nitrogen within the intestinal bacteria, and hence drop in fecal pH helps in the growth of lactose fermenting organisms and suppresses ammonia from forming bacteria. So no ammonia, so no encephalopathy. So these were some important points in case of liver cirrhosis. So hope you liked the session. In the next session, we will discuss some new topics. Till then, goodbye. Take care.